Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We're kind of waiting a few minutes to see if anybody popped on, but we'll go ahead and start and kind of just let people trickle in. Introduce ourselves. I'm Shanda, and I am Shanda Danielson, the early childhood educator in our Bridges classroom.
And I'm Helen Carter. I'm a speech pathologist here at Hearts for Hearing, and I co-teach the Bridges Preschool with Shanda.
And I guess we can go ahead and tell you a little bit about our Bridges program. It's a preschool program that we have here at Hearts for Hearing for our 3-year-olds who are turning 4. It's a program before they go into pre-K, kind of hence the name Bridges, bridging the gap between preschool and pre-K. And we just kind of lots of exposure to foundational skills to get them ready for big school.
Yeah. Our goal is to help make that transition easy. It's a way to prepare the kids and the families to get ready for pre-K, and whether it's public school or private school. But our classroom's modeled just like a pre-K classroom, and we have lots of language opportunities and early foundational skills for the classroom. You want to say a little bit? We also do listening for littles.
Yes, so I teach in the Listening for Littles classroom, and that's on a different day, and it's me and a speech pathologist, Abby, and we co-teach together, and that's with the parents, a parent-toddler classroom, and we teach listening strategies to the parents and kind of give them activities and kind of get the kiddos used to being in a classroom and ready so then they can move on up to Bridges if they would like to the next year. Yeah. So kind of our topic of conversation, we're just going to talk about the transition from Bridges or from any preschool program, whether it be daycare, Mother's Day Out, that transition into the school system, because that can kind of be a scary time. Not only for kiddos, but for families and parents as well. Mm-hmm. So if you think of any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and we will get those answered for you. But we thought we'd go over a few little blurbs and things that we like to tell parents at our parent-teacher conferences. And maybe once you hear some of those things, they'll kind of jog some questions for you. So
yeah, we hope to give you some resources to help build that relationship with the teacher. The teacher may not have ever experienced a child with hearing loss, and so we hope to kind of give you some resources that you can go to the classroom with and help make that transition super smooth for your child and for the teacher. Shanda and I both taught in the public school system before coming to Hearts for Hearing, so we kind of know that side of things, being a teacher, especially in August, at the beginning of the school year. You have 20 plus kids in your classroom. It can be a very overwhelming time. Lots of prep work is going into that, and you're getting lots of things, getting to know the kids and families. And so sometimes getting so much information at the very beginning can be overwhelming. You might forget something as a teacher. So we kind of have some resources that allow you to communicate with the teacher at the beginning of the school year, but also as the year goes, and that way the teacher is able to absorb that information better.
Yeah, just some tips and tricks to share with the teacher, kind of help. Like Helen said, if they've never had a kid in their classroom with hearing loss, it's kind of, their first rodeo. So give them tips and tricks on just how to make it a successful school year and what they can do, little things that they can do in the classroom. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started with...
something we say is that most people are familiar with if a child has glasses, how important those glasses are. We can all understand a little bit what it's like when your vision is blurry. We have a harder time understanding what it's like to not hear well, because you kind of don't know what you don't hear. So something we find very helpful to share, I think, with families and relatives that you have, but with the teacher, and also too, that made me think, this is important to share with your child's classroom teacher, but it's also important to share with like the librarian or the PE teacher or the music teacher, maybe even setting up something where you have a chance to not only talk to the classroom teacher, but the extracurricular activities, the counselor or the principal, something like that. I think this information is very helpful
for everyone.
For everyone. But back to the point of, it'd be helpful to illustrate to the child's teacher exactly what your child is hearing. And so the Flintstones hearing clip, and we'll share the link, Cyril shared the link in the comments, but you can also just Google, it's a YouTube clip, where it's Flintstones, and it's the Flintstones cartoon, and it shows just kind of all the different levels of hearing loss and how clear or not clear it is. And so it kind of just illustrates what a child would be hearing without their technology on. And so I think that's always a great starting point. So it just kind of helps the teacher understand how important some of these other tips and strategies that you're going to share with them are to help them help the child be successful in the classroom.
Yeah, and like Helen said, if you've never listened to the clip, I know when I listened to the first time, I was like, okay, wow, it kind of gives you an understanding of, at this level, this is what it sounds like. So yeah, I think, making sure that that first most important component in the classroom is making sure that the teacher knows that they have technology, they need to be wearing their technology.
This is what the technology looks like.
Yeah, because I get a lot of people are scared of technology at first. They don't want to break it. They don't, it's
they don't
blinking.
know what all the lights mean.
I don't know what this means. Can I touch it? Can I put it back in the ear?
How do I put it back in the ear? I'm sure parents, when you first got those hearing aids, it took you a little bit to figure out, does that hurt when I put it in there?
Yeah, get in there.
But I think, and you can, again, I think, take the hearing aid or the cochlear implant, whatever, and I'm sure reach out to your audiologist too, but Google, just the troubleshooting tips for that piece of technology that, again, sharing that sometime with the teacher at the very beginning of the year, but having a handout would be really helpful. That way they're like, oh, I know we talked about this, but I don't remember exactly what it means when the light is flashing orange. So maybe if there was like a handout,
a little cheat sheet
with troubleshooting tips, I think that would be really helpful, because again, that technology piece makes it more intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, having things like backup batteries and just having maybe a little bag in the backpack, a little kit that has everything that would be needed as far as technology goes.
And depending on the age of your child, when this transition happens, teaching them, like, okay, this is where your backup batteries are. They're in this pocket in your backpack. That's what we love about the Bridges classroom, is it kind of gives that safe environment to practice those things and to try those things, and the parents can kind of step back a little bit and allow that to kind of happen. But teaching the child to kind of advocate for themselves and telling the teacher, hey, I can't hear, it's not working, it's not on, that
responsibility and self-advocacy skills kind of starting with their technology.
And if they have the remote mic technology, making sure they're being responsible for that, and I've gone to PE, I need to make sure that that's been handed over to the PE teacher or the music teacher. Practicing some of those things, and maybe that's before school starts, dropping them off at grandparents' house and seeing, okay, this is a safe place to maybe practice those skills of, this is where your backup batteries are located, or
doing those things. And then Helen mentioned remote microphone. We have another video that we'll put in the comments later, but it is a classroom teacher. What is it? He forgets to turn on the mic. So the child has his technology on, but it's a noisy classroom. There's lots of things going on. It's a spelling test.
It's a spelling test, and it's he kind of remembers halfway through, oh, I forgot to turn on that remote mic, and you can hear what the child is hearing and how much clearer it becomes when that remote
mic is
turned on.
Yeah, so that's another important piece, key component. If you do have a remote microphone, to kind of teach the teacher, or make another little cheat sheet, or a lot of districts will have a hearing specialist that can come in and kind of train the teachers to, just so they're comfortable with using it, because it really does make
a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. We're gonna go, we have a question. Let's see.
What are the most important 5 skills the child needs for kindergarten?
Okay.
I think play.
Yes.
Play, I think, would be the
number one. Play, I'd say, like, just exposure to a lot of different elements that will be in the classroom. Center time. So in kindergarten, at least when we were teaching in the public school system, there were center rotations. So just knowing that you're not going to be able to stay at your preferred activity for a lengthy period of time, like there's going to be a timer or some sort of transition to go on to the next activity. So I guess
I think the biggest takeaway, I think for that question is they don't need to come in knowing all their ABCs. They don't need to come in writing or reading, that they're going to get all those skills. So the ideal student coming into a kindergarten classroom is someone who has some play skills, who can maybe sit crisscross applesauce on the rug and follow directions.
Kind of follow a schedule.
Following a schedule and a routine and transitioning. And it's, now, in my home, transitions sometimes are difficult. They're a lot easier in the classroom because it's the whole class doing it. So don't also start to
put so much weight on that.
Yeah, don't worry if it's like, oh, we have a lot of issues with that at home. But I think play. I mean, I know you asked for 5, but
I think all that to say the academic skills are not the main ones you need to focus on.
Following directions, reading. Of course, reading covers so many things, but that they can sit and listen to a book and engage with you in story time like that. Yeah. Okay.
Next question. How do you get a child interested in books and reading aloud? The parent reads aloud.
Right. Yeah, not the child. Okay, great question. The first thing that popped in my head is go to the library with your child and let them pick out some books. And the library is a fun place to be. They've got, puzzles and toys and puppet shows. So it's a fun place to kind of spend a hot afternoon this summer. And they have a bunch of programs at the library that are free. So it can be a very similar classroom environment, so they can kind of practice some of those skills that we were just talking about are important to enter kindergarten, but giving them some, maybe making it part of an experience and having some control over the choice.
That's what I was going to say, giving them the choice. I think a lot of times we're like, hey, we're going to read this book at this time, I'm going to read it. And
you might think about too the timing of when you're doing the read aloud. So sometimes bedtime is what we typically think of as a great time to sit down and read a book, but sometimes we're really just tired and we don't want to go to bed. So if you're reading me a book, that means I have to go to sleep, and I don't want to go to sleep, so I'm going to fight the book, hoping that means I can push back bedtime. So maybe there's a different time during the day. Maybe there's a snack involved where they're sitting and they're doing something with their hands and eating goldfish. Or
you could even do like a theme, like if your kiddo was really interested in dinosaurs, go to the library and check out some dinosaur books, and then take a trip to the zoo and they have all the dinosaurs there. And kind of create also that language environment and kind of transfer that book knowledge into other environments as well. So I guess choice would be the biggest.
And time of day and kind of the setup. Where are you reading? What else are you doing?
In hopes that creates that interest and encourages that love for reading.
And if you need to start with the really simple, not the lengthy where there's like 5 paragraphs on a page, but something that's short and sweet, and be successful in that moment and build up.
From build up to it.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we'll go. We have a few more minutes left. We can talk about some additional resources for classroom teachers. And kind of see.
And we can share all these links with you. One that we've really found very helpful is there is a resource, and it's emailable tips for teachers. And so we'll share that link in the comments, but you can go and you can see, and some of them will fit your child and some of them won't. But it's a way to maybe communicate with your child or child's teacher maybe on a weekly basis, and just kind of like short little blurbs, little helpful tips about how to make the best listening environment in a noisy classroom, especially a kindergarten classroom. Like Shanda said, there's centers, there's lots of movement, there's lots of things going on. So how to create the best listening environment. But I just like, because they're little blurbs. I know the Flintstones video is one of those emailable tips that's in there. But it just kind of helps the teacher understand what hearing loss is like in the classroom, and then how to accommodate that.
Just gives maybe some like reminders of things that maybe were said at the beginning of the year, but things happen and you kind of lose that information, and maybe needs to be repeated mid-year. Something like if a kiddo's sitting next to a noisy hallway with the door open, let's close it to create a better listening environment. Yeah. So just things like that.
And this is easy too to, instead of repeating yourself multiple times to all the teachers, doing like a group email to all the child's teachers and anyone that's working with them.
Yeah.
So that's a really great resource. The other one that we want to share with you, it's back to the self-advocacy part. There's a PowerPoint that you can PowerPoint template that you guys can create and modify to fit your child, and it might be fun for your child to have a day where he gets to kind of share about his hearing loss, about his technology, how cool it is, how awesome it is, and make it really fun so that the other children in the classroom kind of just know what it is. Because most of the time, especially in this younger pre-K kindergarten, the kids are going to be curious. They're going to see something that they've maybe never seen before, and it's not mean-spirited, but they're just curious. So this is kind of a way to let the child have some control and some power and some pride in what they have.
Empower
them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then also get to share, and now the other kids have that knowledge and they can help out too.
Yeah. And that also, when Helen was saying that, if anyone has any IEP questions, or how to even get on an IEP or a 504, or you're going into the school district transitioning, feel free to contact us in the classroom and we can kind of help you get set up. I think a lot of people don't know where to start, or they think that the IEP comes from Hearts for Hearing to the school system, and it doesn't. Everything starts with the school system. So anything like that, any resources you all need.
What would be if they're like, my child's going into pre-K kindergarten, I haven't even talked to anyone about my child's hearing loss. What would be like the first thing that they should?
Call the district. Each district, based on size, kind of has a different point person to talk to, and they can get you set up. It's either, like bigger districts like Edmond or Oklahoma City, there is a hearing specialist that can kind of get you set up on the right path, and let's get an evaluation in place, all that stuff. I would just call your district office basically and ask who you need to talk to.
If you know your child's homeschool, could you call just the school?
Just the school
directly?
Yeah, call the school directly, and just, it's better to be prepared than to show up that first day and we have hearing loss. We need some accommodations or
technology.
Yeah, so to kind of get it all in place before the school year starts would definitely be my suggestion. That way everyone has time to digest.
And there's people in the district office during the summertime.
Yes.
So you can call even though it's July.
Yeah, call and get everything set up. So yeah, that would be my tip. I think a lot of people don't know how to get that process started. So just a point of, I guess, advice would just be to contact your district, and if you can't get a hold of anybody or need some additional assistance, you can always reach out here as well.
You want to do a brief IEP versus 504?
Yeah,
very brief. In a nutshell.
A fast one. IEP. So individualized education program is what an IEP stands for. So a lot of kids will. My understanding, I know each district is different, but hearing loss is an automatic qualifier for an IEP. A lot of times you'll receive additional services, speech, maybe PT, OT, or maybe you need some classroom modifications as far as curriculum goes. So your IEP would be a program that would encompass all that, and basically a plan for everyone to follow. 504, just regarding some modifications like technology, remote mic, things like that, making sure that everything is in place to make the classroom successful. Short and sweet.
So 504 would be if speech or any other additional services wouldn't be needed.
Yeah.
504 might be the
technology aspects. Yeah, just the technology. And I know I've worked with a few families in the classroom in the Listening for Littles program that, it's a small town, or they know their teacher, or they feel really comfortable with the school district, and that's great and that's wonderful. And they think they don't need any paperwork in place, but I do get paperwork in place just so you can have documentation that's a legal document that the teacher in the district has to follow.
They might go to first grade and now you don't know that teacher.
Exactly.
And so, but you already have that paperwork in place.
Yeah. So to go ahead and do the legwork and get everything in place. Just so everyone is successful and on the same page. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess we can also talk about too some different accommodations for the classroom and what that would look like. Just different, like we talked about making sure that technology was on, remote mics were worn, this blinking light means this, or making sure that batteries are in place. So obviously that is very important, but just some different tips and tricks and resources that we gave parents at our parent-teacher conferences would be like making sure that the kiddo is seated near the point of instruction, or that they're not sitting.
And in some classrooms that might mean the front of the room.
Yeah.
Or it might mean, if they're more circular tables and groups, that might look a little bit different. So it might not be necessarily front and center of the classroom, but I like what you said, closest to the point of instruction.
Yeah, not next to
air conditioning
vent, or if there's recess, the playground's right outside. Just things like that are easy things, but unless you're reminded, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, we just want it to be on the forefront. And these might be some things that would these show up maybe in the 504 or IEP, that kind of, so there's, of course, where the child is sitting and those different environmental modifications that can be
done in the classroom. Trying to think of some other things like not turning your back while speaking.
Repeating questions so if the teacher's, wearing that remote mic, that another kid says something, repeating it into that technology so that the child is hearing all the incidental things that are going on around them. Making sure the teacher asks for understanding, like, what did you hear? Making sure that they got all the directions or all the information that was given. If pre-teaching is a possibility, or giving, a lot of teachers send out, a newsletter maybe at the beginning of the year that's like, hey, these are the concepts we're teaching this week. And so you might pre-teach some of those things so that your child is successful, and those are some familiar things. So when they hear them in the classroom, they're more set up for success.
Yeah, things like using visual aids in the classroom can also be very helpful. Like we mentioned before, shutting the door to the hallway, putting, if there's tile, putting the tennis balls on the bottom of the chairs to reduce noise.
Another one I just saw that is maybe setting up the schedules to help minimize listening fatigue. So maybe allowing the child to take a break. Maybe that's sitting in the quiet corner in the reading nook and having a chance to just kind of give their brain a break, or walking in the hallway to go get a drink of water to the water fountain bed, like really short 2-minute things, but just giving that child a chance to not have to work so hard to listen, especially in a noisy environment.
And that's another thing too. A lot of the things that a teacher might look at
behavior-wise,
she might see as a behavior,
but maybe it's listening
fatigue,
or they didn't hear, and so they look like, they're not paying attention, but that's not what it is. don't have good access to sound right now. So yeah.
Oh, another question. What if teachers refuse to send out pre-teaching materials?
Well, it'd be good if you had that in an IEP or 504 because then they'd have to.
Yes, Helen, that's right. No, I think, at least from my teaching perspective, I always think, why wouldn't you want to do what is helpful and is going to make
it'd make your life, a teacher's life, easier if
successful? But
I think if you create a relationship with that teacher and it's not, hey, you have to do XYZ, da da da. But if you're kind of create that relationship where hopefully the teacher is receptive, I think also taking in perspective that the teacher, there's a lot of work that goes on, and during the school hours they're obviously teaching and there's not a lot of time to do computer type work, and so they're doing that after school, they're doing that before school and those extra hours, and they maybe have families too that they need to go home and do dinner and stuff. So take into perspective that they have a lot on their plate and they don't have necessarily a lot of time to
get those materials
and do lots of emails and everything that a person at a desk job might have. So I just think with some understanding and like, what can I do from our end to make this easier? So, if it is like, hey, do you send out a weekly newsletter with kind of the concepts and stories that you read? Is there anything that we can do at home to maximize that?
I would just say, try at the beginning of the year or prior to the school year starting to get that rapport and understanding in place that, pre-teaching or getting a certain handout or knowing things ahead of time is really helpful for my student, for my kiddo. And if there's still not, positivity or it's kind of going in a negative direction, I would say feel free to get the whole team involved in that process. And maybe if there's another teacher, or if it's like older kiddos in middle school and the science teacher is doing a great job at that, but the math teacher is not, then maybe they could get together and say, hey, how is this working for you? What, any tips or tricks? So don't hesitate to get the whole team involved.
Because they might have, you said that too, like maybe the counselor's like, hey, I have a block on Mondays that I could easily come help facilitate some of that pre-teaching and kind of take that off of maybe the homeroom teacher's plate. So if it's kind of a whole team effort, then maybe it would be more successful.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Okay. We left off just some, what were we talking about? Modifications for the classroom to kind of make it a more successful environment for students and your kids. Some of the things, let's see. We said pre-teaching vocabulary and new concepts in a one-on-one environment, if they're able to. A lot of classrooms I know will do like YouTube videos or watch little
like Magic
School Bus or just whatever, or like a time filler, make sure like the closed captions are on while doing YouTube or any of those things.
You said YouTube, the PowerPoint that we talked about, the template, they also have YouTube videos that are real short and sweet. They're animated, but those could be like time fillers that a teacher could probably share. That just teaches what is hearing, how does sound get to your ear. I mean, it's not just about hearing loss, but just about, it's really educational, and most teachers talk about the 5 senses, and so it could fit in nicely with that, and we can share that link as well.
Yeah.
And I think we somehow filled 30 minutes up. I can't believe it.
We are out of time. But I guess, all that to say, if there are any questions or you need help with any transitions into the school system, or any tips and tricks for your child's classroom teacher regarding their hearing loss, or if you just have any questions for us.
I think communication and building a relationship with the teacher is the most important thing, and knowing, okay, beginning of the school year is a really crazy time, so how can I be helpful
to that teacher.
You know, in a couple of weeks when they kind of got the routine and everything set and going in.
Yeah. And I think knowing too that yes, technology can be the same, but your child is your child and you know your child best, and what's going to work for your kiddo in the classroom to help make them successful. So don't hesitate to reach out. Don't be scared to reach out to that teacher and kind of give her or him some tips and tricks. Yeah. Okay. So, all right.
That's it. All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Where do you hit to turn it off?